I've always been interested in bees. They're sort of fascinating. So I went to the I went to a beekeeper. John told me about the Beekeepers Association of Palm Beach County. So I went to one of their meetings. No, I didn't go to the meeting yet. I heard they were having a conference. So I went to the conference at the hotel down by the airport, and I won a hive. So while I was there, they did a demonstration of inspecting a hive. And how they do it is that they take the frame out, lift it up it's like a Zen experience I was watching. They take the frame out very, very carefully, and they hold it like that, and then they turn it around, and they turn it this way and that way, and looking to see if they have the healthy queen or if there are any mites. And what I learned there is that backyard beekeepers are the forefront of raising healthy bees in the United States. And because of colony collapse, there are spontaneous colony collapse all over the country, and they don't know why it's happening. The commercial beekeepers have to be very careful. Commercial beekeepers have thousands of hives. They put them on a tractor-trailer truck, and they schlep them to California and put them in the almond groves or the orange groves. And almonds are getting more and more expensive because everybody's into almond milk and almond butter and almond this and that. And the almonds take a lot of water, so that's a controversial subject. Anyway, while we were watching this, he had on no protective equipment, but some people did. And I got stung. They don't like sweat and they don't like dark clothes. Oh. It was hot as hell on that roof, in the sun, up on that roof, and I'm sure I was perspiring. And I said, I've been stung. It wasn't bad at all, by the way. And immediately he came over with the smoker and puffed around me. So the others would not get the message that there was, because I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that they die after they sting you. They leave the stinger and they die. So they they scrape the stinger out, and that was it. Had a little knot there. So I was inspired really if these backyard beekeepers are on the forefront of raising healthy bees. Like he explained, this is one family, one queen, and they mate, or they can, I don't know why they want backyard beekeepers so badly, but it's very important to the industry for raising healthy bees.
But it could also be because they have a variety of pollinating sources, where like if you go to the almond groves, you're pollinating the almond grove, and they may have sprayed pesticides on there.
Well, then the bees, they wouldn't do that. If you want your bees, you're going to pay thousands of dollars for these trucks to come there, and then they bring them back to Florida. So Florida has several large commercial beekeeping operations. But they are encouraging the state of Florida, and you are allowed by legislation in the state of Florida to keep bees in your backyard. As long as you have a fence around it, it's protected, so you can't have, so people can't, vandalize the hive. And plus, you don't want them stealing your honey if they know anything about it.
Except John, his neighbors will get on him.
I found out I can actually have one in my backyard.
Oh, you did?
Because unless the homeowners association specifically in their documents say you can't.
Well, as soon as they see yours, they will.
And most of them don't.
They'll add it
Well,
to
then
it.
I'd be grandfathered in. But I realize I don't have the physical strength anymore to do it, so I'm not going to do it. But I know Javier expressed some complaints. I suggested we put one here on the ground. And really, he was concerned about being sued. Well, as long as you get a permit and have it inspected every year, nobody can sue you. Nobody can say your bee stung my dog or anything like that. So you don't have to be concerned about the liability as long as you register it and have it inspected every year. So and this Palm Beach Bee Association, they meet every first Friday of the month at 6:30 at the Pine Jog Nature Center, which is right next to the school. You actually go into the school. And I would advise everybody to go down once in a while and see. there's a large number of people. You should get there pretty early, because if you don't get there early, you don't get a seat. And,
But if you have a hybrid car, you get closer parking.
well,
You have a hybrid
There's
car.
special-
It's a
There's
very
Special
interesting,
parking for hybrids?
it's a very interesting place. They do a lot of other environmental things, and they have a beehive out there in the back. And once a month, when they have the meetings, if you go to the meeting early, you can watch them do a hive inspection. They're checking for mites and see how the queen is, and sometimes they will transfer to another hive, and they also have what's called a top bar hive. Now, I traded the hives that I got as I won at the conference with a beekeeper who had a top bar hive. They told me that a top bar hive, I'm going to show you pictures of it, it's shaped like a trapezoid, and like this, and this is the bottom, and it's about this long. And you put the frames in it, and you block it off until the bees are established, and then you give them more and more room to grow honey, to store honey. Up north, you cannot take all the honey, because a lot of it they need the honey and pollen. They have pollen cells and honey cells, and they need it to overwinter. So at some point you stop taking their honey. But the top bar hive is also called a Kenyan hive, strangely enough. And I don't know if you could see the pictures. That's the side of it. That's the end. That's where and those are the frames.
Okay.
And that's what a frame looks like when you pull it out.
So you're saying there's like a barrier, a horizontal, rather than
There's a
stacking the
solid-
boxes, there's a barrier that you move.
It's a solid frame,
Uh-huh.
and you can just move it down as you want them to grow. Because I cannot lift those 90-pound boxes by myself.
Right.
Really?
So that's it.
Smoker pellets.
And the smoker, Penny Odie he uses pine needles, and I've been collecting the fiber from my coconut trees,
Uh-huh.
and that's also very good for smokers.
rags work really.
And that's to put water in. Has a hole at both ends, so one end I have to block off. Now, why I don't have bees yet is because I guess the organization, you can pass this around. I've dropped it in the driveway, that's why it's correct. The organization has gotten very, very busy. They just elected a new president, Kevin something. But Al Salopek is very, very busy, and they said that they would bring me a swarm, but I haven't heard yet. But the other day, one of the guys said, put your frames in your freezer, just to make sure you've killed out all the microbes, since it's a used hive and it's been sitting outdoors for a long time. I went to so many of those lectures and just came home with just so much information, I was bursting. But one of the most fascinating things about these bees went to a lecture, and one of those books describes the bee dance, the waggle dance. And when the hive gets too big, either the queen is old, and like Ryan said, that a swarm will take off, or it's too big, so they decide they have to swarm to make room for more bees, so they're constantly raising more. They're all girls. Ladies do all the work. The drones don't do anything but wait to go on that flight to mate with the queen, and that's all they do is sit and wait for that one big day. And when she's doing that, that people have photographed it. Anyway, this scientist in Europe, you can put dots. You can see dots on the backs of the bees in different, with like a magic marker with different colors. And they watch the bees when they were looking for a swarm. What they'll do is leave the hive, and actually they did swarm at the conference. Just happened to do that, and you could see them sitting up in a tree, this big ball of bees. So they send out scouts, maybe 15 scouts, and the scouts will go to all these different directions, and they'll come back, and according to their waggle dance, and they have diagrams in one of the books, this hive that I just checked out is too low to the ground, or it's high off the ground. And it's got a little small opening, and it's opening a large opening, or it's windy or something, and it tells them. So after a while, they watch them where they're going, and then maybe 5 will go and check out what the other one said, and then 3, and finally 1, and then they all take off after they've made they all come to unity. And they come to unity and they take off. They follow that one and they're in their new home. I don't know what else I can tell you.
The dance is actually the dance is a figure of 8.
That's one of them is a
And-
figure 8. Uh-huh.
Right, according to the size of the loop is how far away it is.
Yep.
And according to the vertical distance is the angle with the sun to go in that direction. And how fast they go is how good it is, how strong.
Well, you're close, but they even get more specific about a hole, how the opening, how the size of the opening.
That's when they find flowers. They
and the high, how off the ground. I don't know about the wind. Yeah, but they really are not aggressive. If you get stung once in a while, and everybody does, all the beekeepers do, it's not a big deal, but they don't really attack unless you step on their nest or toss the hive over something. This young lady came and she was inspecting the hive. She had on a mini skirt and flip-flops and a tank top, and there she is out there with her hive. Like I said, though, it's like Zen. I mean, she's just very, very slowly. And when you put it back, you have to jiggle it in and make sure you're not going to squash any bees when you drop it back down onto like a file holder. And they give you a tool because the propolis, that's what I was going to tell you. The propolis is what they make. It's not honey and it's not pollen. They seal up holes with propolis. And a lot of doctors use propolis. They feel that it's very healing. And so they give you a tool. I have it. I also on one of the raffles they give new wannabes. They give them a lot of stuff to get you encouraged. And you pry the frame up to loosen it from the propolis. And there was a doctor. I went to his workshop. He's right here. He teaches at Palm Beach State College, and he has a practice. And he talks about what he does with honey and propolis and stinging. And he showed us a picture of a woman who had an abscess on her leg, I think. And it wouldn't heal and wouldn't heal. And I can't remember if he treated it with honey or with propolis or any combination thereof. But he has a lot of patients who come there. If you have a joints from arthritis, apparently that can be very helpful in that spot. Sharon will say.
No, I just want to interject that wonderful book, Secret Life of Bees, has a lovely quote about bees at the beginning of each chapter, or a little informative thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's worth taking the book out of the library just to read those little things about bees.
It's a beautiful book.
It is a beautiful book.
Yeah. You had a question?
Yes, I was wondering, I'm not clear about what happens to the queen who is not producing and is aging and perhaps goes off with a swarm. Does she then, when she's in a new swarm, a new location, regenerate somehow, or is
No, when
she retired?
when she's ready, I can't remember what they said when she dies, but they don't have a long life.
Yeah,
You can see in a hive every once in a while when you lift it up, you can see these extra large cells. They look like a bubble, like maybe that was swollen. That's a queen cell, and they're raising new queens, and they'll pick one, and the others they just toss them out.
But when they go off in a swarm, there is a queen with that swarm.
Yes,
but
and she
is
could be a healthy queen.
Okay.
I think she probably starts the hive and then eventually they replace her.
Yeah.
What is the lifespan of a bee?
A few months, I think.
A few months. Okay.
Yeah, not years. The queen, I think, is. Oh God, I should have boned up.
That's all right.
There can't be more than one queen.
No, they can't.
She will go actually around and she finds these queen cells and she'll destroy them. And if it's when they swarm is when there's two queens. They just can't get along.
Okay.
And what you were talking about is the comb. Some hives have form in them, and they can build according. And my understanding is that you can get larger cells, that there are two sizes of cells, but they will build on the form. But what you're talking about is a plain blank and empty frame where you let them build their own wax cells all the way down.
Oh, okay.
And when you harvest those, you harvest the comb and everything, and you can keep the comb intact and put it right in the jar. Commercial beekeepers of their honey, they have these huge extruders, centrifugal force. They put like a centrifuge, they put it in there and they spin all the honey out, and then they sell the wax. You can buy the beeswax.
For candles and so forth.
We all got little pieces of beeswax. I brought some stuff for John from the conference. There are lots of beekeepers, and I'm not the only one. Now, Patty Odie and Kara have beehives in their backyard. While they were away last summer, I think one of the colonies absconded. And I don't know what the status is now. Maybe when he comes we can ask him.
I know that they traded like a gallon of honey to Charlie for computer work. They barter their honey.
Neat idea. John's brother raised bees in Ohio, and when he moved down here, he had to transport his bees down here. And that must have been an interesting trip, stopping at the, for a cup of coffee or something to
Yeah.
get his bees.
I spoke with the woman who is the inspector for this region, and she said that I told her I was going to get getting a hive. She said, well, when you get it, call me and I will come. She said, do you have a fenced-in area, backyard fenced in? And I said yes, so I do. So I know that I'm okay. If I didn't have the fence and there was open access, I would not get a permit to keep bees.
So it's a 4-foot fence?
Well, mine is not,
6
it's
foot fence.
7 because of the, it's 6, I think, yeah. Had a large dog at the time.
This is an interesting book because they have like quizzes about bees. And what was it? If a virgin queen ate true.
These are my notes. The
The
drone is
virgin
simply,
queen is prevented from going on her mating flight.
Yeah.
She will lose the urge to mate in approximately 3 weeks.
I'm reading about how they're using research on bees to develop robots, particularly unmanned cars and
those
airplanes
drones.
and things. Yeah.
That's probably why they call them drones.
a bee culture, these are my notes. It's a colony is a city of virgins. The queen, the workers, and the drones. The drone is quite small. The workers are a little bit larger, and the queen looks like.
You got that backwards. The drone is larger than the worker.
Is it backwards?
Yes.
My drawing is wrong then. This is a sketch. But the queen looks like
Yes.
the worker, but she's just a big worker. The drones take their genes from the mother. All of his sperm are the same as his self. So all his kids' offspring are his sisters. The drone is simply a delivery system. Drones are mama's boys. They drift from hive to hive. They carry genetic info and are welcomed anywhere. The girls' work is never done. They start as nursemaids, then they clean the hive, then they something by eating and foraging, and eventually their wings wear out, so they don't live that long. They are domestic engineers. They can fight, they can store food, they can make medicine.
That's the women.
The girls, they call them our girls.
Life's not all good for the boys though, because up north, at least, when winter comes, they throw them out.
Right.
They're all dead at the entrance of the hive because they don't
Oh,
want
it's
to feed them.
time to go.
Yep.
Oh, thank you guys.